quiet moment before you make a big decision, the pause before you answer the question, before you say yes or before you say no. Most of us rush past that moment. We override it, we explain it away, or we simply don't trust it. But what if that pause is actually where our wisdom lives? Today's conversation is about reclaiming that space, not as hesitation, as clarity, not as uncertainty, as intuition speaking. And for leaders, founders, and creators who are building lives of meaning, learning how to listen to that voice might be one of the most powerful leadership skills we can develop. Because the best decisions rarely come from urgency, they come from alignment. And that's exactly where today's guest lives and works. I'm joined by Atlantis Wolf, an intuition teacher who helps women entrepreneurs over 50 activate what she calls their inner compass. Through her programs, retreats, and gatherings, she's building something beautiful, a global community of women who are dreaming bigger, trusting themselves more deeply, and creating lives that feel expansive rather than constrained. Her work explores how intuition, community, and conscious dreaming help us design a life that actually fits who we are becoming. Atlantis, welcome to Catalyst Conversation.
Thanks, Desi. I'm so excited to be here. The energy in the conversation just, it feels like the sparkles on the ocean. It's so exciting. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I know this is going to be so good. Atlantis, I want to begin somewhere human.
Yeah.
Many people listening might feel intuitive moments in their lives, but they're not
hmm
always sure they can trust them. So I'd love to start with
hmm
your story. Was there a moment in your life when you realized intuition wasn't just a feeling, it was something you could actually follow?
That is a great question. I would say that it's like building a muscle. So there are stories that I'll share with you right now. But when I look at the arc, I would say it's very much like building a muscle. So the first time you throw a baseball, maybe it just hits the ground, maybe it doesn't go over the fence. The first time you do something, it doesn't always land. But doing it over and over again is where the practice comes in. And from that human side, my background is in environmental and civil engineering, very grounded, and project management work and financial services, super grounded, and medical massage. So, biologically, what we're doing is we're laying down something called myelin. Myelin is a protein over our neural connections. So, over the neurons that help move, but also the ones that are in our brain. So much so that there are things that you do without thinking. So it's very likely you don't think about putting the toothbrush in your mouth. It just magically gets in your mouth and you start brushing your teeth and you can think a thought while you're brushing your teeth. So for me, I had big spiritual experiences. For example, my mom died of cancer and close to the end, within, I would say, about 3 or 4 weeks before she died, I was there sitting in her room. A woman was doing Reiki over her. I had zero donut hole experience with spirituality. And that means that I was kind of pissed because my dad had paid this woman to come in, put my mom on a massage table, and wave her fingers over her. And I thought, this is the end. Like, we have reached our insanity point where, yes, she has a terminal illness. Nothing is going to work. Why are we even trying this? Fast forward, of course, I later became a Nusui Reiki master. Like, of course I did. Of course I do Reiki, but as I was there kind of rolling my eyes, I needed to do something, so I rubbed my hands together because I read it in a magazine on an airplane that if you rub your hands together, you could create a little bit of energy. It was in this martial arts article, and I sent it to my mom. The moment that it reached her, because I could see it, didn't think anything about that, but the moment that it actually reached her physical body, the corner of the room opened up, and I saw the Archangel Gabriel with my eyes open and two angels next to him. And it was really an incredible thing where there was no time, no space, no talking, no breathing, no nothing. And I didn't do anything with that. The woman said, hold her ankles. It kind of broke the spell and then it disappeared. But I could feel when I was holding my mom's ankles, I could feel his wings fly over me, move the top of my hair, and then disappear. I saw the wings disappear.
Mm.
That's not that it's intuitive, but it's a big spiritual thing. I didn't tell anybody. My mom's dying. I'm a single parent. I've got a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old. I'm a consultant at Charles Schwab Retirement Services Division. Like, I have stress. I have nowhere to process this. Zero. My stress levels are, can I make it through the day? And every day, I would sit on the hood of my car after I got my kids fed and in and safe and tucked in. And I would sit on the hood of this really crappy, lowered 1986 white Acura that my ex husband bought off of a high school student, lay on the hood, look at the stars, listen to a few songs, and think, it's going to get better. I got through the day, have a gin and tonic, have 2 cigarettes, and go to bed. Like, that was where I was at. But as I walked through my mom dying, holding her hand, feeling her soul come into my body, allowing her to move up to heaven, saying, I don't think it's supposed to be like this. I started to explore and say, okay, I need to do something. I'm not going to make it. So there was one particular moment when I was at work. It was stressful. I gave a big presentation. It was amazing. The VP came up and said, who are you? I said, I'm a consultant. Here's my name, blah, blah, blah. We're going to keep our eye on you. And I was really angry because they don't hire consultants. They hadn't hired a consultant in 14 years. This guy was just teasing me, was just being fake. He was just being the worst of corporate fake VP. And I knew it. And that's when I knew I had to leave. So I prayed to God that night and I said, you know what? I'm not going to make it. I need you to give me something to do. I want to keep my kids and I want to keep this house and I want to make enough money to survive. Pro tip, if you ever ask God or divine or creator or source for anything, don't ask for the bare minimum. Ask for more. Ask for a luxurious life. Ask to be comfortable. Don't ask for just making it. But I fell asleep into a deep sleep, and when I woke up, I saw with my eyes open, massage therapist written in bright white sparkling letters. And I said, okay, I made a commitment. I said, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. And I did it. I went in, I quit my job. That was on a Thursday. I said, I'm sorry. I quit, and I can't give you 2 weeks' notice because there's a school that starts Monday. It's an accelerated program, and I'm going. And I went, I got in, I became a massage therapist. 22 people went in that accelerated program. 4 people came out, and 2 of us were licensed by the state medical board. From that moment where I said, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do, I have never, ever questioned the intuitive hits I get. Every time I get a weird message that says, you see that person? Yeah, they're drinking. You need to get them sober. Okay. This person that you're getting like tingles about, they need to be writing a book and you're going to help them. Okay. I said yes once and I've never stopped saying yes for the rest of my life. And it has led to extraordinary experiences, travel. My house is paid off. I completely forgave somebody in my family. And that Christmas, 4 months later, they wrote a check for $166,000 and paid off my house. I don't know why. I still don't know why to this day. But I have never stopped trusting my intuition. And I know the most important thing is it's the first answer that you get. Your intuition's the first answer. Your analysis paralysis is the second answer. And that's where you go through, do I really want to do that? That's when you hit the paradigm. You hit the pattern that says you tried to do something risky before and it didn't work out. Don't do that again. And that's where you have to decide. Are you going to take a risk? Are you going to live? Or are you going to stay safe?
Right. That is so powerful because many leaders that I encounter and that I talk with, they have a moment like that where logic and intuition start to intersect. And it more often than not requires encourage, right?
Yeah.
So when you look back at your journey, what helped you begin trusting that inner voice instead of dismissing it?
Honestly, in my experience and what I've experienced in other people, it's always when there are no other options. You know, my mom has passed away. I'm in the middle of a divorce. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose this job. There's so many situations personally where there was nothing left to do but trust the inner voice.
Mm,
This isn't it's not like I'm on my beach house in Malibu sipping Mai Tais thinking, I think I should just chuck it all. I think I should just, do something courageous and do something different. It never comes from a place of comfort. In my experience and what I've helped over 3,500 people through this process over the last 16 years. It always starts with some kind of death, death of a marriage, death of a job, death of a close relationship. They get to a certain age and it's death of an identity. The mom
mm,
watches the kids graduate high school, graduate college, and leave. And now, who is she? What's her role? What's her identity? What
right.
does she do? So, to me, where it shows up most is when something is in such a deep transition that you're willing to go inside instead of just relying on the old resources.
What I'm hearing in this is something we talk about often here, and it's that clarity doesn't always arrive through analysis. Sometimes clarity,
Oh.
yeah, clarity arrives through listening.
Hmm. Well,
And
remember, you
mhm.
know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Remember that we have two sets of faculties. We have our senses that's our input. So what I like to do is look around. I have people, okay, wherever you are, look around the room that you're at, wherever you are, even if you're on the bus or at a light or whatever like that. Look around, notice what you notice. Notice three things. And, maybe you notice the plants need to be watered and I need to deal with that. And, my shoes were supposed to go over there. And then you come into yourself, breathe 3 times, in through your nose, out through your mouth. That circular holotropic breathing, right? Allow yourself to be wrapped up by your favorite divine being. Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Yeshua, Source, Spirit, Isis, Kuan Yin, Sekhmet. And when you feel saturated, all the way into your heart by your divine being, open your eyes and look again. Now you see through the eyes of the divine. Now you're more likely to see what a beautiful plant is growing. It must be growing because I love it so much. What a wonderful thing to be able to attend to that paperwork that's going to lead to a retreat in Peru next year. I love those shoes. I'm so glad that I got those because they really are lovely. Clarity is perception. You have a clear perception, but your perception will change based on what you are taking in from the outside senses versus when you come inside, use your inner faculties, willpower, discipline, memory, intuition, and start looking from the heart, the subconscious. The Greeks called the heart your subconscious. From the inside, with the divine, everything we do is co created with divine. We are always building with divine energy. We do nothing on our own, absolutely nothing. So we can either co create a lot or co create a little. And your soul doesn't really have a stake in the game. Your soul's like, yeah, that would be fun to be homeless. We've never been homeless before. Sure, let's do that. But inside, you can set your own course. You can open your own compass to what do you really want? I guarantee you it is not just a big fat bank account. It's something else. You want to leave a legacy. You want to help your kids. You want to help a certain group of people. You want to build something that's bigger than you. That is a divine in you wanting to do good with the life that you have. And when you really get down to what you want, that clarity will come quick and fast.
Mm. So true. And really, learning how to create space for that voice may be one of the most important leadership practices we develop.
100%, because we are living in a world that is designed to distract us. We're living on how much can I get you to look at me, pay attention to me, dopamine hit. The easiest thing to remember is that those messages come in silence, in stillness. If we take time at the beginning of our day to go outside into nature and walk for an hour, that takes care of our meditation, that takes care of our exercise, that takes care of regulating our nervous system, and that takes care of our spiritual download. No tech, no dogs, no friends. 1 hour out of the 24 that takes care of everything that our physical and mental faculties need for that clarity. You have to make it a priority at the beginning of the day, not when your tank is empty, but when your tank is full and you're soft and you're open to getting messages. That is the secret.
Mm. Let's talk about the people you serve. You focus
Mm-hmm.
specifically on women entrepreneurs over 50, and I find that fascinating because that stage of life carries so much wisdom, and often society stops encouraging expansion at that age.
True.
Why did that audience become so important for you?
Well, I'm 56, so so there's a natural evolution of I want to hang around my sisters, but and this is what I know. I know what stage I'm in. I know the stages I've been in, and I know the stage I'm in right now. But I have gotten some pushback, and I certainly have. I've changed a few things. My 6 month program, I recently opened up the next one to men, and because there's a space for the sacred masculine, but I also created it as an online course so that other groups and other people can take advantage of the same wisdom. But for me, what I really resonate with is that it's such a powerful time for women because they have been able to move through, whether they had kids or not. They've been able to move through the expectation of children, the expectation of rearing children and being a mother and being in that phase of life. They've also moved through the idea of being a nurturing partner. And they have gone through all of the phases of sort of that princess. I want to be the good girl. I want to do the good things. I want to be seen well. I want to be pretty. I want to be agreeable. And they've moved, their hormones have gone through the shift between 30 to 36 and 42. Women's hormones change. It's biological. And you stop being satisfied with just being in society. And biologically, you begin to turn into yourself and say, what makes me happy? And that's when a lot of women get angry
Mm.
because they realize they did not allow themselves to ask that question until now, until they're close to 40. That they did what they were expected to do, what they were raised to do, conditioned to do, the norm, but they didn't say what makes me happy. They may have thought about like what makes me happy ish, like what do I want to do a little bit. But there begins to be this psychological and biological sloughing off of expectations. And as a woman gets to 50, they see that life is not infinite. There are infinite possibilities, but this life journey is not infinite. If I don't ask what makes me happy now, when will I?
Right.
If I don't focus on myself now while I have a chance, when will I? And I find that stage of life to be so interesting because it's when you meet women and you say, what do you do? And they talk about what they do. They don't say, I have 3 kids, I have a husband, I raise sheep. They don't talk about things outside of themselves. They actually talk about themselves. And I find that really refreshing.
Mm.
Now, specifically, the group that I work with are those women who sense there's something I'm missing. And that something that they're missing is the spiritual half. You have all those senses on the outside, but all those senses on the inside weren't really paid attention to. There's no cultivating that inner intuition, that inner knowing. You may have had moments in your life where you counted on it. All women I know have a moment where they grabbed a child before the child crossed a road and would have gotten hit by a car, or they stopped somebody from doing something before they would get hurt. Women are very much electrically connected to the people they nourish, and every woman I know has an experience, but or they have big experiences. I have a client who 22 years ago, she had a near death experience. She saw Jesus. She had a whole conversation about coming back or staying there, wanted to come back. He said, okay, she came back. And I said, so what did you do with it? And she said, well, I just put myself in God's hands. So what did you do with it? Absolutely nothing. Like, you had this massive experience and then you did nothing with it? And she said, I'm in God's hands. I'm like, it's a co-created experience. It's you and God together doing something with the thing that you wanted to do down here. And she's just sitting around waiting for I don't even know what, and is in a job she doesn't like. So I find it interesting to be at the watershed moment of life where you've reached an apex. You've tried things that worked or didn't work. You've certainly been married, not married, kids, not kids. You've been through a lot of the cycles of life. But as your estrogen drops, as your hormones slow down, as your moon cycle starts to shift and go to nothing, women become very steely, very strong, very much interested in, I want to make myself happy, but I also want to do something worthwhile, worth my time, worth my effort. And they don't know where to start. And I'm the beginning of their journey because they need to unpack. They want to unpack the anger. They want to unpack the programming, the paradigms. Why am I like this? What's mine? What's not mine? And find a way to have certainty around their gifts. Every single person has psychic gifts. Every single 100%, 1000%. I walk people through a meditation. That's where we start. It's always nice to have a door to open and start. You'll probably have more the more you work with it. But that group is open and looking for a path. And they don't want to just talk about it. They want to do something about their life. And that's the biggest difference. If you're ready to take action, those are the people that end up finding me.
Mm. That's such a powerful reframe. Instead of seeing that phase of life as a slowing down, you see it as an expansion point. And
Mm-hmm.
you've built several experiences to support that. One of them being your Intuition Academy, which is, that 6-month journey helping women activate that inner compass. Can you
Mm-hmm.
walk us through what transformation someone experiences inside of that process?
Oh my God, I could talk about that all day. That gets me so wound up. So wound up. So every person wants something different. Part of registering for the 6-month program is we have an hour-long onboarding call, and we really get down to the meat of the quiet desire. So some people may say, oh, I want to get in touch with my intuition. I'm like, okay, assume that you did that. What else would you do with it? We kind of dig into, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with it? If you have a powerful connection with your intuition, what do you want to do with it? For example, there was a lady who said, I just want a better connection with my body. Okay, we're totally going to get a better connection with your body because intuition comes through your body. But as we got into it, her success was in getting more and more connected to her body. She finally said out loud, I don't want to be the fattest girl in the room. I'm 74 years old. I've been the fattest girl in the room since I was 25. And in 12 weeks, she lost 25 pounds and her cholesterol dropped 30 points. It's
Wow.
not just the intuition, it's what you do with it. It's not the money, it's what you do with it. There was a lady who had a lifelong fear of flying. We walked down the path of, is this yours? Did someone tell you this? And it was her mother. As an only child, her mother was always telling her, don't do that. You're going to get sick. Don't do that. Don't go to that side of town. You're going to get kidnapped. Don't go over there. Don't go with strangers. You know, she was just loading this girl up with fear to the point where she was afraid to do everything. And so it was about emotional release therapy, moving those emotional energy balls out of her body, giving them to a divine source, which I teach of one of the many things that I teach in the class, and understanding what was left. And what was left was a deep desire to visit her son in Rome. Her
Mm.
son had just moved to Rome. She's Italian. She wanted to go to Sardinia, where her family is from, but she was terrified to get on a plane. We walked through again and again and again. Can you love who you are being afraid? Can you accept the fear? Can you breathe into it and just be with it? Yes. In 6 weeks out of the 24, she said, it's more important to me to see him than to be afraid. And I said, then buy the ticket. Buy the ticket. She bought the ticket for 3 months later, and she called me every day in tears. I'm in Italy. This is my lifelong dream. I can't thank you enough. You know, all the things. Because in the academy, there's a chance for live coaching and community. And when you're held so well every week, it's 2 hours once a week for 6 months. There's finally a place to bring the quiet desires that are being heaped on by the fears, and to just sort of loosen those strands one at a time. Without guidance, you won't do it because you haven't done it before. Everyone needs guidance. Everyone needs a teacher. Everybody needs a place where they can go so that they can experience this. So it's everything from it's fears, it's wealth, it's somebody wanted to join and said, I don't have the $500 deposit. I said, no problem, here you go. I gave him a PDF, how to manifest $500 in 5 days or less. She manifested $38,000 and said, okay, I'm going to sign up. And it's belief, expectation, paradigm shift, pattern shift, simple things, feng shui. But we need guidance, we need accountability, we need that community and that safe place to do it. It's like the proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with a tribe.
Mm.
And a lot of that is, yes, there's Jungian archetypes, 12 intuitive techniques. It's the elemental journey. I'm going to take you through the shamanic path of change. We're going to go from dreaming to doing to the resistance, what's dying to flying. It's all packed in a very methodical way so that you are gently carried through the phases of change because it's permanent. Everything that we do creates permanent and lasting change. That's why it's so long, because we're unpacking decades of patterns, things that people told you and you just believed it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
takes
That's
time.
it's such a beautiful example of what we talk about in leadership here, but and structure supports transformation. When
A
people
hundred
have
percent.
when people have that space designed for growth, something deeper becomes possible.
Yes. And you feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel safe, you won't be vulnerable.
Right.
Someone needs to hold you. Think of a time, I'll give you a great biology example. Think of a time when you were in a scary or trauma situation. It could have been something that just happened that startled you, or a car accident or something like that. If you're alone, you're in shock. The moment a loving authority, someone that you trust, holds you after that experience, you cry and you can't stop crying. You're crying the ugly cry. It's just it can't be stopped because now you feel safe enough to let those go. And the biology, what's interesting is the lacrimal gland in your eye will not release the hormone to create tears unless you feel safe.
Hmm.
You have two systems, parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. So it's the fight, flight versus the rest, digest, have a good cry, have an orgasm. Can't have an orgasm when you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. But the way that you know you're safe is if something happens to you and you cry. If you don't cry, you don't feel safe.
Right. One concept you teach that immediately caught my attention is something you call the confident pause.
Mm-hmm.
In leadership, we often talk about decisive action, but you're inviting people to pause first. What exactly is that confident pause?
It's very much the version, what I was talking about. So it allows you to be in a situation. And once you practice this, you can do this in 3 breaths. Breaths, not 3 minutes, but 3 breaths. But what you practice is this idea that you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth 3 times. Your nervous system needs to be triggered in 1.8 seconds, or it will not be re-triggered. In other words, if something happens to you, if you breathe 3 times in a little and out a lot, you can stop your nervous system from being re-triggered and move yourself from that sympathetic to parasympathetic. That's key. So number 1, in through your nose, out through your mouth 3 times. Wrap yourself with your divine being. God, Goddess, Jesus, Source, Spirit. Make it a being. Don't say the universe, because the universe is a concept of all, and your subconscious knows that. Make it a being, any being, ghost of Elvis Presley, whatever is holy and sacred to you. Have that divine being wrap you up until you feel saturated with that endless, infinite, and unconditional love. And then ask yourself one question in 5 words or less. In other words, if I had an opportunity to move to England, I would breathe, I would bring in my divine spirit, I would close my eyes, put my hands on my heart, and I would say, I move to England. And then I would wait and sense the answer that I got. Either a sound or a feeling or a sensation. Sometimes I get cold on one side of my face and hot on the other for yes or no. You want to ask a question in the most potent way possible, and that means 5 words or less, and make it a yes or a no. People want to get down this road of, should I do stem cell research for my cancer therapy? And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. 5 words or less. You're a beautiful, intuitive newbie, and we want to make sure you're getting a lightning bolt. We want to make sure your compass is saying north or south. We don't want to say maybe. If you get a maybe, start again. If you don't get a clear answer, if you don't get a clear, immediate answer. And by the way, that could also be your body moving forward. You could be kinesthetic, where the answer comes in your body and your body moves forward, that's yes, or it moves away, which is no. Always remember it's in your body. It's going to be one of your senses and it's in your body. If you don't know what your psychic sense is, send me an email. I'll send you the meditation, and it's a very simple way to find out what it is. But you are going to get an answer. 100% of the people get a yes or a no. The first answer is your intuition. And as we said, the second answer is the analysis. Oh no, I'm moving to England. So the confident pause is when you practice that, you can be doing it all at the same time. You can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. That's breath 1. Breath 2, wrap yourself with your divine being. Breath 3, ask the question. Hand on your heart, close your eyes, get your answer. You can get an answer to absolutely anything. 5 words or less, yes or no. The first answer is the right answer. If you trust it, it will guide you to your highest purpose. I like to tell people your intuition is just like the next version of you. It's you 2.0 going, come on, you could do it. You got this. It's just like when we learned how to walk. Come on. You might fall, but you're going to get up because you know you can walk. Come on. That's all it is. It is the inevitable you. There is no doubt that the greatness inside of you is arriving. It's arriving every day. It's how much do you want to say yes to it? How much greatness will you allow to come into the world? You are a channel for greatness. It's like being in the orchestra. We're all an instrument in the orchestra.
Mm.
And how much you bring through has everything to do with your capacity to receive that intuitive message. Clarity is there. Clarity is never the question. People come to me and bring me any question. You could book a free 15-minute call with me if you think you don't have clarity. I will give you clarity in 5 minutes. There's without a doubt. It's not the clarity. It's the human ego side saying, oh no, that means I need to leave the bad relationship, leave the situation, change, go through my closet, clean out my basement, clean out, my stuff. It's the humanness after the message that makes it difficult.
So the pause isn't hesitation. It's actually a form of awareness. And I love that because the
Hmm.
pause creates clarity before motion. And when
Yes,
clarity leads, action becomes far more aligned,
correct.
right?
And you can think of that confident pause as really giving yourself time to get out that inner compass and set the course. Because if you don't have, what I've noticed is so many people skip that step. They skip that dreaming, they skip that decision. They don't open the compass and give it a heading. They think, I'm in the middle of the ocean, everything is churning, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough, I don't have a good job, I don't. They're in that scarcity, tossing and turning. Without a compass direction, they go to action. And they go to, I just need to be on more podcasts. I just need to post more. I just need to get a different job. No, you need a heading. You need a heading. And then every action will feel inspired. It will feel co created by Source, and it will feel easy. It will feel like every step forward is 10 steps closer to your goal.
Mm. Atlantis, something you said in your work really stood out to me. You described the world around us as clay, and we are the
Mm-hmm.
sculptor. And that's such a powerful metaphor. Can you unpack what that means for someone who feels stuck or constrained?
Absolutely. We are a work in progress. We are receiving divine energy every second of every day. We are letting go of about 50,000 cells every second. And if you doubt that, you just look at Kirlian photography. Kirlian photography is the one where you can see the aura around you. They can take pictures and things like that. We are not static. We keep ourselves stuck. But in actuality, we are clay being molded constantly. One of the universal laws is the perpetual transmutation of energy. You are more like a cloud than a stone. You are moving, you are changing, you are shifting. Your energy is affected by my energy, is affected by the planet's energy, is affected by the neighbor's energy. And when you feel stuck, you want to remember that in this moment, like all moments, something is leaving and something is trying to come in. And your job is to move from your head, which is where your ego lives. Now remember, your ego is just your bodyguard, just your really, really, really awesome guardian who hopes to God that nothing changes from yesterday to today. Why? Because you didn't die. You didn't die socially. You weren't exiled from the tribe. Think back to high school. You got to say the right thing to stay in the right clique, to stay quote unquote alive in the social structure. You didn't die physically. You're still here. All right. So whatever the ego's like, hey, Maybe it's not the best, but she didn't die.
Mm. So the
So
real,
it,
you go
it
ahead.
so it really is a matter of let go of the branch and allow yourself to be carried down the stream of life. It's about having the confidence that you are loved, loving, and lovable, and that the divine is always putting you in a path for your highest and best good. And you can do it in small ways. That can sound really scary, so you can just let go of a pinky and you can prove it to yourself. I love to talk to people about microdosing happiness.
Mm.
And when you say you want something, that's your superpower because the universe is dancing around you saying, what makes them happy? What makes them happy? If you're spending all your time on the phone doom scrolling, they're like, oh, that's what makes them happy. Okay, well, they're already doing that, so no notes. But let's say you love croissants. I'm a big foodie. I use my intuition to lose 85 pounds because I grew up in a really tough childhood environment. So I just packed on the pounds and ate for comfort. But I still love food big time. Imagine that you love croissants, French croissants, butter croissants, just the plain ones, not even the chocolate ones. And you say out loud, I want fresh croissants to arrive in my life. You say that every day, 3 days, and you say it with desire. Desire is to create. DE, it's like of, sire, SIRE. Like when you sire a child, you sire a horse. You SIRE, to birth, to bring into the world. If you desire something, the universe is working hard. Like, oh, we got to get her croissants and we got to get them now and it's got to happen. Try it. Try something that you really want. I said out loud one time, my favorite bakery, which happens to be downstairs, stopped making gluten free pumpkin cranberry muffins. And I said, man, they switched over to the lemon zucchini, which are good, but I really could go for some of those. I had no idea. Within 1 week, I didn't even remember who I said it to. I had 2 dozen little mini muffins that a friend of mine made for me, and they just arrived. I said it, I meant it, I wanted it, and then I let it go. And it showed up. Microdose your happiness. Ask for little things so that you can feel comfortable asking for bigger things.
Mm. So the real transformation really begins when someone stops assuming their life is fixed and instead realizes they can shape it.
Absolutely. You're the only one who can. You are
Mm.
not shaped by outside forces, you're shaped by inside forces. So everything is coming to you. But remember, we just did that beautiful perception exercise where we decided, yes, I see what this is, but I'm going to come into my divine being, co create with the divine, and look again. And now I perceive different things. And so now we can understand that I get to shape my own clay. I get to say, I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to choose what I'm doing. But remember, that clay is being shaped constantly.
Mm.
You can decide now. I'm never going to talk about that thing that happened to me. I'm just not going to feed it. It's not that it didn't happen to me, but I'm not going to feed it. That's sand through the hourglass. I don't know how much sand I've got left in my hourglass. So why would I want to go digging in my graveyard and focus my love and attention on something that's gone? Wouldn't I prefer to focus on my imagination and to imagine how I'm going to sculpt my clay, my life, my next step? People are looking back instead of looking forward. Your intuition is asking you to step forward into a new version, into new clay, into a new way. You're losing cells every second. Energy is coming in every second. You get to decide every second of the day, who are you creating yourself to be? Who are you blossoming into? Who are you becoming? And you could drive your friends crazy. You could change your clothes. You could change your car. You could change your accent. You could change the way that you talk. You could change your hair. There's so many ways that we can play with change. And once we do, it gets to be fun again.
This idea aligns so deeply with the Catalyst philosophy, which is clarity liberates us, structure
Mm-hmm.
supports us, and soul sustains us.
Mm-hmm.
When all three are present, leadership stops being about control and becomes about expression.
Mm-hmm.
Atlantis, I'd love to move into our Catalyst lightning round. This is one of my favorite things to do. These are gut reactions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, ready? What is one
Yes.
leadership quality intuition strengthens the most?
Confidence,
Mm. What pra-
definitely.
what practice helps someone reconnect with their inner voice?
Getting close to nature every day for 1 hour, every day without any distractions and with no excuses.
What's one belief about aging you would love to rewrite?
What is aging?
Mm. When
My
you
soul is eternal. I don't believe in aging.
I love that. When you feel lost or uncertain, what brings you back to center?
Oh, that's such a good question. I haven't felt lost in so long, but I would say the first thing that I do is I fill a page with what I am grateful for immediately. And then I find something silly about myself. I try and look at myself from the third person and I try to find something that I'm doing that's silly. Like, why am I playing a game where I have to answer every single email today? What a silly game. What a silly person I am. I
Mhm.
always like to remind myself laughter is the best medicine. And I am naturally like the bubbles in champagne, where I just naturally kind of bubble up to the surface. So that's what I like to do.
I love that. Last one, complete this sentence. Leadership becomes powerful when.
Women tap into their own eternal strength
Mm,
and connect with each other.
so good. Atlantis, this has been such a meaningful conversation, and I want to bring us back to a simple truth you shared earlier. Everything around us is clay. We are the sculptor. Our thoughts, our choices, our courage, they shape the life we experience. And
Mm-hmm.
sculpting requires something many of us forget, which is space, the
Mm-hmm.
pause, the willingness to dream before we act, and the patience to move through the spiral path of change,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those
Yeah.
three things create something powerful, which is the clarity that liberates us from those old assumptions, the structure that supports our growth, and soul that sustains that journey.
Yes.
Atlantis, thank you so much for the work you're doing to help people reconnect with that inner compass. Before we close, where can listeners continue exploring your work?
I have everything that I offer on atlantiswolf.com, and I do three things. I have my 6 month program, which is the Intuition Academy. It's live, it's Wednesdays. There's two cohorts. In other words, there's two different times of day that it meets. And that is the go to, if you're ready to jump in, that's where you start. That's the best place to start. It starts in January and it starts in July every year. There's two. The other thing I do is I do a women's retreat to England every year. It's sort of the real accelerated growth. We're going to Avebury and Glastonbury, and we walk the Michael and Mary lines to balance the masculine and feminine energies in ourselves. And the third thing I do is I do an international women's networking event. It's called the Connected Queens Conference. It's in Cleveland, Ohio. It's always October 16th or the closest weekend to October 16th. And because it is a business expense, you get to write it off your taxes, but it's where we come together in real time. So we're eating together, we're networking together, we're getting to know each other, we're holding each other, we're supporting each other. What's easy for you is probably hard for me, and vice versa. So we're helping build our systems, build our whys, support each other. And every hour is networking. 15 minutes out of every hour is networking, 2 hours at lunch, 2 hours before dinner, all the things. It's live and it's live streamed. So you can come be live or you can hear the five speakers on a live stream because accessibility is important to me. So I want to see you in person. I want to have an ugly cry and laugh out loud with you in person. But if you can only come to the summit version, the live stream version, that's also powerful. So all the things are on atlantiswolf.com. And the one thing when you said the spiral path that I forgot to add, we're in spring. Remember, when you plant the seed, you can't harvest the fruit the next day. The spiral path is honoring the time that it takes to gestate your ideas. You get clarity, you take action, but there needs to be an understanding that there is time involved when things naturally grow so that they can be harvested.
Oh, so good. And to everyone listening, remember this. If something inside you is asking to grow, expand, or express itself, be curious about it. That voice might be your next chapter. Thank you for joining us on Catalyst Conversations, and we will see you next time.